We've got sticky notes. We've got Sharpies. We've got Spencer. And we've got Testing Business Ideas book. It can only mean one thing. It's episode 9 of the Sven and Nick show. I hope we don't have to re-record that, because I think that was a fantastic start. I hope that was as good as it came across in my head, or what it sounded like. So welcome. How are we doing? How are you doing, Sven? Good?
I'm doing good, doing really well. Excited for this show. I know you've got a whole load planned, so it's going to be fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so what I was planning for this episode was to talk through the value proposition canvas for your business, Future Builders, and do kind of like a demo of what the jobs, pains and gains are of your customers, because I think this could be really helpful for listeners to think about how they could apply it to their businesses.
Perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. So just quickly, I think it's probably helpful for us to talk through the value proposition canvas so people have got an idea of it for those that aren't so familiar with it. So it looks a little bit like this. And I like to think it looks a little bit like Pacman, or at least the circle looks like Pacman. And so in terms of like the mouth on it, that's the customer jobs.
So let's have a look at the Pacman side over here and tell us, Nick, about what each of these different segments are. What's the customer profile all about?
So the customer jobs is simply the job that a customer is trying to get done in their life. The gain, or the gains, are the outcomes, the results, the things that the customers are trying to achieve as a result of getting that job done.
Okay.
And then the pains, the difficulties, or the problems that a customer has, maybe in association with doing that job, or maybe it might be something they're trying to move away from.
Okay, got it.
So that's the customer profile. I'd love for us to map that out and give the example of your business. It's probably going to take a little bit of time for us to work it out, but I think it should be a good exercise, right?
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's a really good, and it's perfect timing for me. I think actually doing this is a really good timing anywhere you are in the business, even if you're refreshing where you think you are or what you need to do. I think it's a really good kind of refresher. So we've done a bit of this before, but actually it's really good timing for us to be able to do it again.
And I know that you've got a really good idea of your customers already, because you spent a lot of time thinking about this.
And talking to them directly as well. Yes.
Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? Because that was quite interesting.
About the talking to them?
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. So I guess whenever you're trying to do research with potential customers or potential users, some of the traps that people often fall into is getting to the point where you're guiding those conversations. You're guiding people towards your solution. And what you really don't want to be doing at that super early stage is guiding people towards a potential solution just because you've fallen in love possibly with that solution. What you need to do is understand the pain points and the problems that they have much more in order to be able to solve those and figure out what the solution could be. So I think what I've done so far with a lot of the user interviews, research that we've done, has been have conversations about some of the difficulties that people have in their working life, in their productivity, in their progress, maybe progress and ambition towards getting better jobs or moving careers and switching jobs, and some of those difficulties that people have around that. So yeah, I think trying to understand some of those pains means that you can fall in love with the problem rather than fall in love with the solution. So we've done a lot of that work with a whole bunch of people already.
And how did you find those initial customers to speak to? And then how did you manage to talk to them?
Yeah, quite a few different ways. And I think it's good to try to use different approaches to try to identify, because we didn't really know who our customer was. So you could kind of target people through their demographics or their psychographics or the kind of people that you might be wanting to find. But actually we didn't even know who was going to find this stuff interesting and want to use it. So we started off just reaching out through our networks. So we're part of Founders Factory, of course. We're here today again. So putting out messages on their Slack channels to see whether people want to have a conversation, 15-minute conversation, really kind of keeping it short and sweet to start with. So you're not taking up a load of people's time, but trying to get into some of those difficulties that people are having. So that worked a lot. I ended up speaking to about 10 people from the Founders Factory groups. And these are people who are building startups or helping people build startups as well. So that was kind of it lends itself well to that kind of early innovator entrepreneurial type person. So we wanted to reach out to people that weren't in that field as well. And that was through, we did some ads, we kind of did some ads and found out people's email addresses. We got in touch with them. In fact, I just phoned people as well because we took phone numbers. Anyone that did that responded to our ad and gave us the early sign-up. We talked about this last week. Those early sign-up details, I literally got on the phone, gave them a call and just spoke about what it was that they were trying to, what interested them, but also what they're trying to do in their life. And actually we found this strange demographic that we didn't consider it before, which was recent graduates, people that are in their first job or first or second job and then looking for their next career move. So that's an area that we're really focusing on.
And what were some of the main jobs that those customers had, or those people that you spoke to had?
Yeah, so particularly around those early career, people in their early careers, what they've had, if you think about like 22 to sort of 28-year-olds, they've had most of their life in formal education. And they've kind of come out of uni or whatever, having these support networks of their own progress, having lecturers and tutors and, and people around them that are kind of on that same learning journey. And they've fallen out of university or high school or whatever, and they've lost that support network. So they just don't know where to go and where to look in order to make that continued progression. So they've often been in a job for a couple of years, reached a point where they're like either not entirely satisfied with the job that they're doing, they want to switch careers completely, and often you fall into your first job out of uni. I certainly did that, and you probably did the same. So it's those like that support network disappears. They don't know where to go to kind of find good content and understand more about themselves and where they need to progress. And so that was one of the big difficulties that we kind of found out through our customer research.
So it sounds like one job was to find good content.
Good content relevant to that individual person. So yeah, finding good content, you're right. Key thing. It's got to be relevant to that person. It's got to be delivered at the right time as well. Often we can read something, but it's just not the right time for that to read that piece of content because it doesn't stick with us quite so well. So the right content at the right time in order to progress.
So it feels like they need to find good content, but they don't. But that's a job they're trying to get done. But a pain that they have is that a lot of the content's not relevant to them.
It's not relevant, and there's a couple of reasons why that as well, if you want to dig in. So often it's not the right level. So it could be too basic or it could be too advanced. And finding that level that you're at is a really difficult thing anyway. Like for example, I'll give you an example of my own life here. I can code a bit, I can build a website, I can build some basic apps. I've got no idea how good I actually am. So often when I'm finding new coding resources, I have to go through the pain of reading something at too high a level that's too complicated or that's too simplistic. And it's really hard to find that kind of point of where I am, and that's why it's not relevant. So not finding the right level of content for where you are right now. And I think the other thing is that in a world where we're oversaturated really with content, with knowledge, it's freely accessible on the web. You can Google to your heart's content to find pretty much anything that you want. It's a matter of getting rid of all the noise and all of the stuff that doesn't help and doesn't add value, and cutting through to get the signal that you need. It's about valuable, super valuable content, cutting through all the noise to get you the thing that's going to be really impactful and valuable for you. And
then I think this goes back to, because we were talking about this before, having a million tabs open at the same time is quite a big frustration.
I found it a really big frustration for myself, and didn't necessarily expect people to have a similar kind of problem, but it's totally true. The more people I kind of say this to, more people go, oh man, yeah, you're totally right. Like I've got over 100 tabs open on my phone, and they're tabs that I don't want to get rid of because it's relevant and useful for me. But then when I want to find, I'm like trying to think of an article that I read that's got a really good framework or concept in it that I want to come back to. And I'm flicking through all of these tabs to try and find which one that was. And then, of course, it's not just about finding it. It's about the distraction that you then get because you see some other things that interest you and you completely forget, or this is what happens with me anyway, completely forget the thing that I was looking for was this framework, and actually I found something completely different that's taken me in a different direction, which means I'm not kind of solving that business problem or whatever that I had, I'm going off on different tangents, which is never a good thing when you've got to be laser focused. You've got to be laser focused, particularly in business productivity.
So what I'm hearing is another pain was getting distracted, particularly when you're going through all those tabs.
Yeah.
And then another job to be done is, the original one was to find good content, but the other job to be done is find the content again when you need it.
Yeah, it's recalling that content. So yeah, finding it easily accessible again, rather than, and we've all been there, like where we've read something and you want to share it with someone, or you want to come back to it and reread it, and you can't find it, and it's so frustrating. And okay, there's tools that you can use for bookmarking. You can save links in different places. The problem that I had about having all the tabs open was specific to me, but also resonated with other people. What other people do is use a whole plethora of different tools to kind of do a similar thing, whether that's be bookmarking tools or Evernote Clipper or Pocket or spreadsheets. People are using as well to store good content links.
Interesting. So your current competitors are spreadsheets and Evernote.
On the saving and recalling kind of user story, if you like, or job story, it's definitely things like that. People are hacking their own solutions for these things. I was talking to one guy who's written a script in his browser that automatically saves some of the content that he's got on his browser each day, and then what he'll also do is like certain things the day before, so that comes into his reading list for the next day. So these are kind of like hacked together tools. He's literally programmed this himself. And when you find people that are hacking solutions to things, then there's clearly a problem that more people have than just yourself.
Definitely, that's great. So hopefully if there's any investors listening, they can hear that your customers are absolutely ripe for this.
Absolutely, yeah. If there are any investors, do get in touch. We are just about to try and raise a round. We're going to raise a round very soon, so we're actively looking for investors.
So let's go a little bit more high level, because that's quite good. We've got right into the nitty gritty there. But what are the bigger jobs that customers are trying to get done in their lives?
I think it's more important than ever to keep moving as an individual person, as a business. And what I mean by keep moving is incremental innovation of yourself. Adaptability and progress means that you're going to be able to navigate that really uncertain world that we're moving towards, because of things like technology and globalization and the connected nature of social networks, but also being able to connect all over the world with anyone socially. And that's coming into the business world as well as just the individual world now as well, personal world. And so because of all of those pressures and those difficulties and uncertainties that people have, you need to constantly reinvent yourself. Some of the things that you learn, definitely things that I learned at university are no longer relevant. The things that I learned 2 years ago often aren't relevant. So you need to constantly learn in order to continue to remain relevant and to remain in a job. So if you think of the really high level jobs to be done, customer jobs, it's making sure that you've got the skills that you need for the future. Making sure that you've got the skills, the behaviours, you've got the right mindset to be able to continue to participate in your job and your work. We hear these stories of automation, these threats almost of automation taking people's jobs. And undoubtedly, when we've had these different revolutions in the past, new jobs have emerged and some of the older jobs have disappeared. But what those new jobs are, we don't know yet. So you constantly need to learn and to progress and adapt in order to be able to do some of those new jobs that are going to be emerging.
So it sounds like some of the jobs are learn new skills, get ready for new jobs, and hopefully keep their job that they're in as well.
Yeah.
Great. So what are the kind of outcomes or like gains that they're looking for?
Yeah, getting a job that you really love.
So should we say dream job, or is that too much?
Yeah, dream job. Yeah, it's there, but I think so. The reason I pause on it is because your dream job might be a number of steps away from you.
Okay, so
what I want to be focusing on is what the next step is for you.
Loving your job.
So loving your job. Yeah.
Cool.
And loving your job might be changing elements of the job that you're in, and that would be some moderate kind of upskilling. It might be completely reskilling into a completely different job as well. So there's that difference between upskilling and reskilling. Upskilling is upskilling around the technologies and the incremental changes that are happening to you and to the way that you work. And then upskilling is more of a kind of a radical innovation of yourself, where you're jumping into something completely different.
So is it also about feeling prepared?
The thing about feeling prepared is a matter of confidence as much as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're not prepared for something, and you're uncertain about what that future is, your confidence can really wane.
Mm-hmm.
And giving people the ability to be prepared for the future means that they're going to be much more confident about where they can go as well.
So confidence.
So confidence, I think, is a hugely important thing.
Okay.
And then with confidence and feeling prepared, it's this idea of autonomy over your life as well, and that you're in control, and that you can be the person that you want to be, because you've got control over that direction.
Great, so we've got control. Is there any? These are all quite lofty ones.
Yep.
Have you got any more ones that are maybe more tangible?
So yeah, gains. So I think there's just a simple one about time, because of the amount of time that it would take to re-find a piece of content that's relevant, the time that it would take to find out something that you didn't know before is a really big factor.
Mm.
So that opportunity cost of your time means that you can't do something else in work. If we're able to serve you the right piece of content at the right time, then it means you're going to be saving time and therefore more productive as well.
One mistake that a lot of people make when they're trying to create a customer profile is they tend to not be specific.
Okay.
And I think time is a really good one. But that's not any criticism of what you've just said. No, 'cause time is perfect. But now, what I think would be good to take it another level is being more specific with how much time. Or I think that we could take it onto the level of being able to immediately find the content that you're looking for.
Mm.
Is that the gain that your customers are looking for?
That's a massive gain. That's the dream for us as an organisation as well.
Is that the outcome?
I think you've nailed that so well. The immediacy of that content is so important. And I'm going to play out really quickly a scenario. I know we want to try and keep it as short as possible.
Yeah.
But imagine the scenario where you've hit a barrier in work. You've come across something you've not ever had to do before, and you've got to find out how to get past that barrier. It may be that someone's thrown in a buzzword that you've got no idea about. It may be that someone's using some terminology that you've not understood fully. If you're able to find out exactly what that means, how it's relevant to you and how it's relevant to your organisation instantly, then that will save you so much time. I've seen people literally waste days trying to understand different pieces of terminology and different new concepts. So if you can get that really, really quickly, immediately, but it's the right level for you, and it's kind of snackable content that's easily digestible, then I think that's hugely beneficial. Massive gains. And gains, incidentally, gains for the individual, but also massive gains for organisations as well in terms of the productivity of their people.
And I think snackable content's a good one, because I know that when I'm searching for things, if a video is more than 10 minutes and I know that I've only got so much time, even if I watch in double speed on YouTube, for example, which I do, I'm less inclined to watch it. Or I might just skip through it. Yeah. But I will try to avoid it and try and find a shorter one if I can.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I think we sound great, by the way, on 1.5 speed. Double speed's a bit too much, particularly because I talk quite quickly.
You do.
But 1.5 speed, I think we actually sound way better.
I've trained myself to be able to do it with double speed now. Yeah. Okay. What I might do is pull out the canvas now, and then let's look at this together.
Yeah.
We might even order some of this, if it makes sense. Is that possible? Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. So first of all, let's go for the jobs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got, and let's put them in order as well.
Yeah, great.
Maybe pick the top 3. So you've got find good content.
Yeah.
Recall that content.
Yeah.
Find the right level content.
Okay.
Maybe we can take that away because that's find the same thing as
Yeah,
good
I
content.
think that's a subsection of one of the others,
Yeah.
really, yeah.
So keep job.
Yep.
That's a thing that they need to do.
It's massive, yeah.
Get ready for new jobs.
Yeah.
And learn new skills.
Okay.
Is there a overlap between get ready for new jobs and learn new skills, or are they different?
Well, I think there's something about keep job and get ready for new job. So I think the fact that this is about keeping in work,
Yeah.
is probably covers both of those things.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, and this is something that you can check with your customers.
Yeah.
Now that we've done this, you can interview them and just see if they all agree with this. So, if you had to order them, what's the most important?
There seems to be a flow for me here, which is finding good content in order to learn new skills, in order to be ready for jobs. That seems to follow on from each other.
So it's finding and recalling content. So that you can learn new skills and get ready for new jobs.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That seems good to me. They flow quite nicely, which doesn't always work.
Super simple as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some job stories, but they're way more complex than that.
Brilliant.
So this is super simplified.
I'm glad. Hopefully this works out well, and hopefully it's actually true as well.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the pains.
Yeah.
So too much content and noise.
Yeah.
Well, I think that relates quite a lot to 147 open tabs while searching.
Yeah. Well, these two are very related to these first two, of finding good content and then recalling them. So you've got the finding content through the noise and then being able to efficiently recall it.
Not relevant content to them.
Yeah. So again, related to this, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Getting distracted.
Yeah.
And no support network.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there others we've missed?
Is there something about worried about losing their job? Okay, yeah, we've got that.
I think there's another pain, which probably is around the content, but if you think of when people want to learn stuff, they often default in their mind to a course of some kind. And often courses are long, they're linear, they might not be at the right level again. And to commit to those courses in order to actually buy them and show up and commit and dedicate your time to those is a really big task. So there's a pain here I think a pain is that people have is that they feel hamstrung by the too much on offer, not knowing which one to go for, and they just don't therefore do it. There's an opportunity cost.
And also maybe they don't have if they knew that it was going to get them the result that they wanted, they might do it. But equally, maybe they don't want it enough because it's not the time it's going to take to actually get there.
Yeah, and I think
not sure.
Yeah, so they almost need to sample the value of something before they commit to a longer course.
Yeah.
And I definitely see what we're doing as not the full solution necessarily, but could be leading on to people doing a longer, more intensive block of learning about a specific.
And so they just don't want to waste time on a course.
Yeah, exactly. Wasting time on a course, yeah. Or wasting time on a course or wasting time not doing a course. Because the longer you don't do something, the less chance you've got of making progress in your life.
Yeah. Okay, are we covering it now? Do you think?
I think we've covered all.
And
of
what
those
one do you
really
think's
pains.
top again for these ones if you were to order them?
I would say too much content. So the relevancy of content and cutting through the noise is probably top. So these two together, for me, too much content and noise and they're not being relevant or too much content not.
To me, I think the way that you sum that up is 147 tabs while searching.
Yeah.
I think that is like the story.
Okay. Yeah.
It summarises that, and that.
Yeah.
Because you get distracted by it, and
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got 147 tabs open. That's one major pain.
Yeah.
You're worried about losing your job.
Yeah.
You've got anxiety.
Major.
You've got no support network. Is that part of it? Is Is that
That's
only relevant to some of the students?
Let's leave it there for now.
Yeah, I feel that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Wasting time not doing or doing a course.
Yeah, I think wasting time.
Cool.
Yeah. It probably could go higher level than that, but I think it's a really good example for it.
And we haven't been specific on the time here, but it's about. I think it's just generally you just don't want to waste any time like doing any course. It's just wasted effort and time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've bought a whole load of online courses and done the first little bit and thought really carefully about whether I should continue. Often not continuing, often continuing and regretting it.
Is an unfinished course a pain?
Yeah, well, it is.
Unfinished course catalogue.
Yeah. Because you've bought it, you've spent some money, you've invested some time in it, and then you realise it's not.
And then even though it's not on the shelf, it's like metaphorically on the shelf, looking back at you every time you consider buying a new one.
Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the gains now. So immediately find content.
Yes, I love that immediately. I think that's great.
Feeling prepared.
Yeah.
Loving your job.
Beautiful.
Control and confidence.
Yeah, probably related in this instance to loving your job and feel, but all of those are kind of connected.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And snackable content.
Yeah. So you've got the immediacy of finding content. You've got the snackable, it's small and digestible.
Yeah.
Those feel really closely related and actually at kind of the same level
yeah.
You know. And then this other thing about your feelings, feeling prepared, feeling in control, feeling confident, loving your job, loving what you do, I think are one that all connected as well.
Now let's move on to the value map and look at the products and the services. So what's your main product in this case?
Oh, it's Future Builders.
Yeah.
It's the name.
Yeah.
The main product at the moment, as it stands, and I think that's what we need to focus on, not what it will become, I think it's what it's about now, is learning playlists that anyone can create for themselves, but that experts can also, or experts or anyone can share their learning playlists about specific topics.
So the product is learning playlists.
Learning playlists.
And then, so that in those learning playlists help people find good content.
Yep.
Recall it.
Yep.
Learn new skills.
Yep.
And get ready for new jobs. In
Yep.
fact, those playlists might be called product manager learning playlist. In which case, if you're not that and you want to become that.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Exactly.
Sounds good.
So we might have a learning playlist about how to do a value proposition canvas.
Wow.
Right? There's an example which would include videos like this. It might include the actual Strategyzer links. It might include cheat sheets and guides and a load of other things about the specifics or the detail that starts off with small and snackable and then maybe goes deeper and deeper as you go through the playlist.
Brilliant. So what are some of the features of the learning playlist that relieve some of your customers' pains? So how do the learning playlists help you overcome 147 open tabs? Well,
it saves them straight away into a place which is easily accessible, categorized, and discoverable and searchable. So you can get rid of those 147 tabs by instantly saving them to a playlist on Future Builders and then being able to recall them through an app or online.
So you can save tabs on Future Builders.
Yep.
How does it help you with the worry and anxiety about losing your job?
So this, I think, comes back to the right content provides you with the right skills. If you read it, if you learn it, if you digest it, if you actively do something about that content as well. So yeah, it's about the skills acquisition. And I think there's a beautiful kind of circle of improvement as well. By learning new skills, you get more confidence, which gives you the motivation to go learn more skills, and you've got this ongoing cyclical cycle as well.
Okay, how does it help you with the unfinished course catalogue?
It helps you with that because you can understand more about yourself, understand more about the different roles or the different skills that you need to develop before jumping into a course. It may be that you reach a point where you go, I need to do this coding bootcamp because it's going to be the fastest way for me to understand how to be a coder. But actually, there's no point in doing that coding bootcamp before you really understand that it's the right thing for you to do. So you're gonna find the right thing that you love doing instead of buying a course and committing to something that you don't want to do and it's not going to work for you.
So it introduces you to the topic quickly and cheaply?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Unless the subscription is an arm and a leg, I don't know.
At this stage, it's entirely free for individual users. Our business model we're looking at the moment is around paid for team playlists for businesses to use. So you could create a playlist that's just for your individual team, be that something like an onboarding playlist to get a new starter up to speed much more quickly, those kind of things.
This is exciting. So we could do a whole new value proposition canvas for teams in companies.
Exactly.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
No support network, how does it help with that?
What we're looking to do, at the moment the playlist isn't necessarily hugely social, but what we will do in the future is add more social elements so that you can connect with individual people. What I see with this, and there's a bit of uncertainty, and some of the tests that we want to do will be that you can follow people that are creating playlists and adding content to the system. And by following people, you can then see what they're into, what they're learning, and what they find is useful for people like, for people like me read these kinds of things. People like me do this kind of stuff. And if you can follow the people like you, that maybe one step or two steps ahead of you, then you're able to create that support network and directly connect with people as well.
Brilliant. Okay, that sounds good. So the follow people function, but also maybe if you've got certain playlists that are made by certain high profile people in industries, then it's almost like you're getting a mentor who's top in the industry.
Exactly. Mentors and coaches, the difference between those is really important, but actually this could provide both of those things. A mentor for people that want to move on, but also coaching about certain things.
Yeah, because you don't need you don't have to have ever met your mentor to still have them as a mentor.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've got loads that I've never met. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then let's look at the gain creators. So what elements or features of your learning playlists enable people to love their job?
So the thing about loving your job is that you're doing something which you are good at. Therefore, you need the skills in order to be good at doing what you're doing. And it might be that you're not happy with your job and you want to move to something that you think you're going to love even more. And so giving you the skills to do that is really important, and that's what we're looking to do with the learning playlists.
Okay, great. I feel like you wheeled out a little bit of the ikigai there, just one element of it. I thought you were going to go into it more.
Yeah, you picked up on that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about loving your job is that the thing about ikigai and finding your purpose is doing something that you love and doing something that you're good at, that you enjoy and that you're good at. And I think those two things are totally connected. You're good at what you enjoy, and you enjoy what you're good at quite often. So giving you the skills to do that.
And we talked about this before, I think, where passion sometimes comes after competence.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it can come both ways.
It can come both ways. Yeah.
Okay, so improves the skills and helps you get good at it. So that there. And
I think the other thing is that, particularly when you're thinking about people moving into a new role and that reskilling completely, maybe, that's a really hard thing to do, and it's not, any change is difficult, and we've seen it when we've been doing transformation with big organisations. But any change as an individual is really difficult. And so what we're trying to do is give those small stepping stones for someone just starting to go through that transformation of themselves. So rather than having to, again, that uncertainty about doing the wrong course, that uncertainty about whether this move is going to be good in the long term, we can do some of that stuff at smaller steps by providing people with just great learning content, great videos, great podcasts, to be immersed in what it's like to be in that world.
Okay.
Do that job.
So most of it is based around blogs, video, and podcasts. So
yeah, it's the stuff that.
So the nature of it means that it's snackable.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that's available freely online. Rich media content, but it can be in whatever form you want. I mean, some of the other functionality that we're looking to do in the future is, can we take a blog and turn that into a podcast automatically or an audio version of it. And you've got some apps that do these things. Is there a way that you can take a video and have a podcast or have the transcription? So you can learn in the way that you like to learn as well. That's something.
Okay,
so to do that.
So that helps with control and confidence too.
Particularly control and confidence about around how you progress best and knowing yourself. Yeah.
So multiple formats of content. And then how do you immediately find the content? Because that's the only one that I feel that we haven't really covered yet.
Yeah, immediately find the content. And again, there's a what happens now, and there's a longer term vision for this. So what happens now is when you first go through your onboarding process with the app, you kind of select the things that you're interested in and the things that you want to improve on. And then the content on your feed page or the first page that you hit will be tailored towards your interests and the things that you want to improve on. What we're then building out is a recommender algorithm, essentially. So the system will continually adapt and evolve as you do, and then be able to recommend things to you based on where you are and where you're going.
Perfect. So I think that works really nicely and it kind of fits really well. I'd say that on some levels, it's still quite early days in terms of how well you're meeting the gains. For example, the last one around the content page being tailored to your interest. I think that absolutely does help people find their content, but good content. But in terms of like, maybe you've listened to lots of different playlists, but there was one specific thing that you had in mind, and I want to find that one again. And when your content catalogue gets a lot bigger, it's going to be still harder to find that. That might be definitely something to focus on in the future.
Absolutely, and we've got a load of experiments that we want to run in order to look at those individual things as well. I'll give you one example of it. If you read something, you can do this in Medium and other places as well, but if you read something and you can highlight a certain piece of text, that's great because you can go back to your highlights. But what we'd love to be able to do is highlight a piece of text and then have that as a flashcard that comes back to you to remind you of that piece of relevant content for yourself. And flashcards are a really good way to get spaced repetition of learning. So we forget so much of what we read, so much of what we learn, but actually if you can space it out and repeat it to an individual, it's much more likely to stick with them.
I think that's something that's going to really help people with their job to be done of getting ready for the new job. So
absolutely.
Particularly like getting ready for like a new test, or maybe they're doing trying to get ready for a coding boot camp or something like that.
100%.
That could be really helpful.
Yeah, it's great.
So let's start wrapping it up now. Having a look at what we've just done, have you got any thoughts or reflections that you want to share?
I think the overwhelming one, and I think this comes from your facilitation of this, not just the tool itself, is how we've cut through stuff that's been going on in my head for a really long time. Loads of data collection, loads of interviews with people, and loads of complexity that I've added to it. What this does is it cuts through to get the most important things, and give it in a way which is super simplified. And I think that's so important at any stage of a journey. But right now, for me, having it really simplified is a brilliant thing. So I think that the simplicity of what we've got.
Brilliant. And it was so easy as well to do this exercise with you because of the amount of interviews that you've done and the amount of thinking that you've done with it, because it's not always as easy as this.
Yeah, and I think like to that point, having someone to bounce it off as well, it can stay with you and you can write it up on your own, but actually having someone kind of going, well, you actually mean this. You've said all these words, but actually what you mean is the word control. That's the important thing. Or actually what you need is it's just learning playlists. That's the most important thing.
Definitely. I hope I haven't imposed my thoughts on it too much, but that now what we need to do is you can take this and then have conversations with customers and see, is it right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, shall I just do a quick summary and then you bring it home? So I think the summary is that think about what the jobs to be done of your customers are, what are they really trying to do in their lives, what's the activity. I like to think of it as the verb. It's the thing that they're doing. Then you've got the gains, what's the outcomes, the benefits, the results that they're trying to get to as a result of having done that thing. That tends to be more of a noun, but it might not be. And then you've got the pains, the frustrations, the difficulties, the challenges, the problems they're having as a result of trying to do the thing that they're trying to do, the job. What are those three things for your customer? That, like, if you can create that customer profile, I think that can be a really powerful exercise. So have a go at that. And send us a message if you liked this, if you learnt something, and let us know how it goes.
Amazing. Perfect. I think that's so good. I've got a couple of requests as well, so I'm going to go straight here. And the first request is, of course, as always, like, share, follow, subscribe. Do all of those things that you can do, because we love making this content and we want to make more of it. And it's so good when you see those little notifications to say that someone shared something or someone subscribed. It gives us a massive boost. The second thing is, selfishly, we've been talking about future builders here, and this is like my main thing at the moment. Is all about future builders, and we want to grow it and we want to make sure that it's valuable and useful for people. And we do have at the moment an open beta waitlist happening. So if you go to futurebuilders.co, so futurebuilders.co, you can sign up for the waitlist, and we're going to be looking to launch the actual app on Android, iOS and web apps within the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is scary as anything. But 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be launching it, and so people can go and have a play around with this. If you think it's going to be something useful to you, please do that and get on that list as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome. For episode 10.
Woohoo!